Alrighty, so hello everyone. How are you all today?
Good.
Great, it's good. I love it. Now, before I begin, I am going to take a moment to quickly introduce myself to you. My name is Troy. It's a pleasure to meet you all here today. And yes, we are here to talk a bit about money. In fact, the time that we are going to share together today, which will be about 45 minutes or so, I want to run you through one topic in particular. That topic is going to relate to enterprise, or as we say, small business. I really want to focus on the way that we can take skills, knowledge, and experience that we already have and use it to make a business of our own. Now, before I do this, there is some official information that I want to run you through. So I am a Start Smart facilitator. Start Smart is a program funded by the Commonwealth Bank, which is why the logo is on my shirt and the screen. But it's important for you to understand I am not a banker. My job is to help students like yourselves be better with your money, and that's what I want to do here today. Now, before I begin, I'd also really quickly like to run you through my ground rules. Now, understand, I'm not saying these rules to you because I think they're different to your classroom rules. These are going to be very similar to the ones that you already use. I just want to make sure you understand how I like to operate. So I do want to try and keep it to one voice at a time. If you have a question or comment, I'd like you to raise your hand to get my attention. And finally, I don't expect you to sit here quietly for this entire workshop. At some point, I will ask you to talk to the person next to you or share your thoughts with me, and I want you to feel welcome to do that. I want this to be less of a lecture and more of a conversation. So the more I hear from you, the happier I'm going to be. Finally, as much as I would like you to learn something today, because that is my true goal, that I feel like you leave the room and today you've learned something new, I want you to enjoy the workshop too. I pride myself in making this information as entertaining as it could possibly be. And to make it more entertaining for you, I will happily tell you lots of jokes. Whether you laugh at my jokes is totally up to you, but hopefully for the sake of my self-esteem, you try to laugh at least a few of them. Or not, that's fine too. But this is how we are going to bond with one another. So I really think we can kind of build on that from here, right? So with that passed, there is one more thing I quickly want to run you through, and that is going to be this. This is my disclaimer. Now, the information here basically says I'm here to give you facts, but not financial advice. If you'd like financial advice, please seek a financial expert first, right? Seek your own independent accredited advice where applicable, all right? Like I said, I just want to have a conversation. Now, the way I like to start my workshop about small business or enterprise is really discussing what I think is a good thing that can make businesses be really successful. And one of the things I love to talk about is the fact that for a lot of small business, it's a really good idea to kind of make yourself stand out from the crowd, make yourself really unique, right? Especially against potentially what could be your competition. You want that one thing that people know you for. Now, many companies do this to a lot of successful levels. Even some small businesses really can stand out quite well. And you can definitely stand out from your competition, but kind of not for the reasons that you're hoping to. In fact, the first thing I'm going to show you on the screen is going to be a URL or a website address. What I'd like you to do is tell me what you believe the product or service that this website would offer you. Great. Any suggestions? Any ideas?
Student stalking.
Student stalking? Well, look, I think Andrew, you are on the right track where you're thinking it's supposed to be teachers talking. Right? Absolutely. But if you're like me, you probably saw teacher stalking and went, all right then. Now, I don't know for certain, but I ultimately think that this is not something that teachers would like. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a lot better that it isn't actually what it is. Now, Teachers Talking was a language booster website, and it did actually exist for quite a while. But as far as it goes, whoever made it clearly didn't stop, look at this and go, oh, and realize they were giving people the wrong idea of what they're about, okay? Another example, there is a business over in Canada named The Butcher Family. Any ideas what you think Butcher Family might do? I wish so much that was the correct answer. I want that to be the answer so badly, but I can tell you it's almost the exact opposite thing of what they actually do.
They raise cattle.
It isn't anything to do with agriculture, no. They don't raise cattle. Any other ideas?
They cut veg.
So it isn't anything to do with vegetables or vegan vegetarianism, though I see that link there. You are a good point. Any other ideas? What I can tell you is the family's last name is actually Butcher, which is why they've called it the Butcher family. But it's what they've chosen to put that name to that just it doesn't feel so good. Yeah. They're actually a funeral service. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of people who see this and really don't have an issue with it. I mean, I can understand why. But the thought of if someone walked up to me and said, "Welcome to Butcher family, I'm sorry for your loss," I might go, no, I don't know. Now, as another good example of this, there's actually a business, I believe in Queensland, named Curl Up and Die. Now, the word die here is spelled with a Y instead of an I. It's a hairdresser. Curl Up and Die, referring to hair. Now, I love Curl Up and Die because I'm like, that's so smart. You've given yourself such a unique name that many people are going to recognize or remember the hairdresser with that crazy name. But at the same time, I once had a student that put their hand up and said, "Is that one a funeral service?" I was like, I hope not. Could you imagine going to a funeral and someone says, "Welcome to Curl Up and Die, I'm sorry for your loss"? And I'd be like, oh, no, I don't like that. So again, clearly this is another example of where perhaps you really didn't get the correct intention across to people. And while it is funny, it is also kind of important. Now, I do want to share a bit of facts with you all for just a moment. Because around about 97% of all the businesses we have here in Australia would technically fall under the category of a small business. Now, this is a really high number, and sometimes that catches people off guard. And when I'm referring to this criteria, I'm saying a business that has less than 20 employees, okay? Now, the reason this is relevant is because it shows not only do a lot of people in Australia seem to gravitate towards small business, but statistically, it's pretty likely that you will either work for, own, or just generally conduct business with a small business because they are everywhere. Now, this information alone can be very useful to us because in a small business, even the smallest member of the team, even the brand new starter, everybody who works in a small business has a massive control over how successful the business can be. So if you know how, why, and the things that make small businesses really successful, that's actually incredibly valuable knowledge, right? But let's start by talking about why people may even want to start a small business, right? Because there has to be a drive to pursue this line of work. Clearly, a lot of people do, as the statistics show, but let's talk about what are the benefits to it. Why would you really want to do it? So I'm going to give you about a minute. I'd like you to have a chat with the person next to you, people around you. You're going to have a conversation for me. And what I want you to do is try to name for me some reasons that people want or would start a small business. What are the benefits to working in or owning your own small business? And in fact, if you can, I want you to try and get for me at least 5. I know that's a big number, but I have faith in you. I believe you should too. 1 minute. Have this conversation, off you go. Benefits to starting a small business. What are they? Alrighty, so let us bring it back together again, please. Amazing. I love it. Now, like I said, this question can be tricky for some people, and that's okay because sometimes we don't really just get the chance to have a think like this and really try to work out why some people will pursue this line of work. Now, I want to ask, did you come up with any awesome reasons you'd like to share with the group? Because I'd love to hear some of the reasons.
Make bread.
Say again, sorry?
Make bread.
Make bread?
Yeah.
Make that sweet dough?
Yeah.
I'm all about that as well. So great, to make money. It's such a simple one, but it's so good. It really makes a lot of sense to me. So, Andrew, another one to add to the list?
Make bread.
Make bread. Yes, I too really like bread. You're making me hungry, all this talk about bread. Did you have one you wanted to add to the list?
They have a unique product.
Absolutely. So maybe they have some kind of unique idea or something that they really want to contribute. And the fact is, they have full control of that, right? Because if it's something that they really like and it interests them, they pursue that, which I think is amazing, for sure. Any other cool reasons we can come up with?
To
Yes?
help out local community.
Absolutely. So you can give back to the communities, for sure. Another great one.
Self-motivation.
Self-motivation, again, you may be able to find that thing that inspires you and makes you want to go out and be the best worker you can be, even if you are your own boss in that circumstance, right? There are so many cool benefits, and there are many more that we probably haven't even touched on that some people will use to motivate them to want to do this, right? Now, what we are really going to focus on particularly is what I believe are the steps to start a small business, the things that you can follow to really help you be successful. And from there, we'll talk about how you can create your own as well. And we have a couple of activities which will help us generate some awesome ideas. Now, the 3 steps to making a small business are as follows. We have do what you know, identify your opportunity, and then start small. Now, I am going to start with this first one, do what you know. Now, I feel weird when I say this, but I say this because it's true. If you can't cut hair, please don't become a hairdresser, right? I'm not saying you're never going to be good at that. Don't misunderstand. But what I am saying is let's look at the things that we know we do well, the skills that we have that we probably use every day without realizing it. Great example. Please raise your hand if you have a sibling. Okay, now keep your hands in the air for me. Nice and high. Come on, I want to see them. Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Keep your hand in the air if at least one of those siblings is a younger sibling. Okay? Keep them up. Keep your hand in the air if you've had to look after your younger sibling before. Amazing. Keep your hand in the air. You thought you did a pretty good job. Come on, be honest. Honesty's key. Come on. Come on. Come on. You sure? Really? So, if your hand is in the air, congratulations. You have the skill of looking after people. People pay you to do this. This is a marketable skill that you have on your hands, which is amazing. You're skilled. Another great example. Please raise your hand if you have a pet. Okay, great. Now keep your hand nice and high. Keep them up in the air. Keep your hand there if you've had to look after your pet before. Keep your hand in the air. You thought did a pretty good job. Come on, honesty's key. Come on. Come on. Congratulations, you have the skill of looking after pets. People pay you to do this. This is a marketable skill that you've got. Now, looking after pets is actually a really good example because you see, I have an auntie who owns what's called a pet resort. Now, you can kind of think of this like a really fancy hotel for pets. So when people go away on holidays, they'll leave their pets behind. They get like massive enclosures. They get like swimming pools. Like these pets are really, really well looked after. Now, my auntie recently decided that she wanted to retire. She was ready to move into that next phase of her life. So she put her business up for sale, and it sold for around about $6.6 million. She's now my favorite auntie. Don't judge me, okay? So there's no way her business would have ever sold for so much if this wasn't something people paid for. Now, last time I spoke to her, I said, like, you know, what made you really successful? And she just said, people really care about their pets. And if you're willing to offer the right kind of service, that is something they're willing to pay for. In fact, you can probably show a love and care and spend time with that pet that she couldn't even. So that is an advantage that you have over a business like that. But let's talk about some more examples, right? In fact, one of my favorites, because occasionally I get a person who goes, Troy, I'm great at sleeping. I sleep so good. How can I make money off sleeping? Now, trust me, I think about this all the time because I think I'm a pretty excellent sleeper. But there are some examples, right? You could become a mattress tester, which from my understanding is in fact a real job. You can test mattress. Now, don't go up to your teacher and be like, I'm being a mattress tester. That's my goal now. Again, I'm not even sure if it's something you do full time, but it's something you can do to make money. There are people who, there are medical tests that occasionally get conducted where you sign up, you lay on a bed and you sleep. They pay you to sleep because they want to watch. Now, before we get, I know, hold on. They don't go, yes, good work. They're much more interested in what your brain is doing, right? But again, if you can make money sleeping, I'm kind of thinking anything is possible at this stage, right? Right? There are always things that you can do. I mean, look, one of my skills is talking. I talk quite a lot, as I'm sure you've realized. Now, I used to have a job working with a university where I would help them train medical students, right? And the way that I did this was very simple. I would talk to them, I would occasionally yell at them, I'd occasionally cry in front of them. My job was to just be a little bit difficult to work with, right? Because they wanted to help train medical students to deal with these unfortunate scenarios that do occur in the industry. And they paid me $45 an hour to do it. If you have a skill, I truly believe there is someone who will pay you to use it. Sometimes you have to think about it, you've got to be really creative, but the opportunities exist. Now, I want to share another example with you, this one being a real-world example of a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Kiggs. Now, some of you, from the sounds of it, may know who Benjamin is, but would anyone like to tell me? Does anyone feel confident enough that they can just give me a really brief rundown on what they think Benjamin does? So, pretty decent here. Yes?
He collects shoes and sells them.
My friend, you are on the money. Is something to add there?
Shoe designer, maybe?
Say again, sorry?
Shoes designer.
Shoe designer? Well, look, it wouldn't surprise me if that was an industry he moved into. But specifically, Benjamin, I believe when he was about 16 years old, he was really big into shoes. Always had been, loved sneakers of all forms. And his mum, I believe, bought him a particularly rare pair of shoes, which he really, really loved. Now, this was the thing that really made him go, I want to make shoes my job. Now, we could have very easily gone to his local shoe store and said, hey, can I join? Can I sell shoes here? But no, he was much more interested in kind of doing his own because he had the knowledge. He knew what shoes were popular. He knew what shoes were good. So he thought he'd put that to use. So what he started doing was buying and selling shoes. He'd buy a pair of shoes, wait for it to increase in value, and then sell it for a profit. Now, shoes are one of those very few commodities that can have this effect, that can actually increase in value over time, just because some shoes become harder to get access to, or they're a limited edition shoe, or they just have a surge of popularity in the future. So Benjamin had a good idea of what shoes were going to have this kind of effect. So he's gone, I'll buy that, I'll wait a few months, I'll sell it for a profit. He got so good at doing this, he used to pay his friends to wait out in those long lines for a brand new shoe release, where he would buy as many as he could get, he would put them up for sale a little bit later, and he'd make a profit. It was through doing this buying and selling of shoes, he actually came into contact with DJ Khaled, who is now a close friend of, appearing on some of his Snapchats fairly regularly, apparently. And through my own research, I found that apparently in 2017 alone, he projected to make a $1 million profit, which he did successfully reach, right? Through DJ Khaled, came into contact with a lot of famous rappers who now exclusively buy their shoes through him, right? He is making millions selling shoes to people, and he's doing something he loves, and I think that's the most important part. It's about finding things that we enjoy, that we are interested in, that we know really well, and taking that and using it to make money. So that's the first step, doing what you know. Now, if you're still sitting there thinking, I'm a skillless person, I disagree. I think we all have amazing skills, but sometimes the opportunity can be even more important, right? Because opportunities, they come in a lot of different forms, right? Now, I'm going to share with you two examples of opportunities that I think were quite large and had quite an impact on the world. Now, the first one I'm thinking of is an app. Now, this was an app that came out, say about 4 years ago now, was pretty big, pretty popular. Now, this one I'm talking about? I'm not talking about that one, no, my friend. You want to be the best? No. I am talking about that one, you are correct. So, when it comes down to it, let me tell you a quick story about this particular app. You see, I was actually in Sydney the day that app was released, okay? I was down there doing some training for work. And I remember I was in my hotel room that night, because I'm not from Sydney, as you know. I was in my hotel room, and a friend messaged me and said, Troy, that game came out today. And I was like, okay, tell me about it. He explained the concept. I said, sounds pretty interesting. So I clicked download, I went to bed. I woke up the next day, and I was on my way to work. I was walking to work, and I remember walking through the streets of Sydney, watching people like full executive, like they're dressed up in their suits and they've got their briefcases with their phones glued to their face and they're doing this. Like, it was so weird. I was watching these like executives like holding onto their phones and running around like crazy bit. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Now, I thought to myself for just a moment, maybe they were playing this game. But I was like, no. I mean, no way. These are like people going to work. They're probably not playing it, right? So I go to work. I'm sitting in my office and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking into Hyde Park, right? The big park in Sydney. And I thought, hold on a second. There's more of them. Because there was a massive swarm of people who were all like running around. Someone would like wave their hands like this, and the entire park would just like smash into that person's position. It was so strange. And I thought, these people are playing this game. And as I'm sure you probably heard, it only got crazier from there, right? There were cafes that ran promotions where if you owned a certain, one of those, they'd give you a certain discount. Right? There were certain ones that said, if you own the local gym, if your team owns a local gym, we'll give you some kind of discount. Right? There was a nice creamery not too far away from me that said the higher the level you were, the more free mix-ins they planned to give you. Right? They were giving you something for nothing just because you played this game. Because this was a game that encouraged you to travel. The aim of the game was to go somewhere you normally didn't, to travel somewhere entirely distant. And they said, Come see us because we'll give you free stuff for doing it, right? Did you know there were drivers who were delivering people around? They said, I will take you to all the best spots in the local area and then I'll drop you home again, like an actual safari. And this was something people paid for, right? Let's talk about a more recent example, right? I'm thinking of another game. This game, definitely not as old, maybe a year ago now, year and a half perhaps, also was incredibly popular. Any ideas? I am. I'm talking about that one there. Now, I know I'm really bad. I'm so sorry. But here's the thing. It's another great example. Did you know there were people who were charging themselves as game tutors? They were like, jump online, you pay me, I'll teach you how to be better at the game, I'll teach you how to build, I'll teach you how to get all the wins possible, I'll teach you how to be the best. And this was a service that parents were paying for. I watched a news report of a parent saying, yes, I'm paying for my child to go to this tutor because I want them to be better than their friends. And I was like, what kind of strange world do we live in now? What on earth is going on? This was a real thing that people actually paid for. So there were people who saw these opportunities and went, yes, I can make money from this. This is a service that I can offer that I enjoy and makes me a bunch of money in the process. Now, the next example I want to give you of this is of another person who did this very well, and that is this young lady, Clementine Mobbs. Now, I would actually be surprised if you've heard of Clementine, but you should hopefully be familiar with the device that I have on the screen. What's this?
Hoverboard.
Absolutely. On the money. Good job. Now, these were another trend that I found that ultimately found the success through social media. That's where they got insanely popular. People loved them. They ultimately got banned at a couple of places, but for the most part, they were around for a year or so, and they were pretty popular. Now, Clementine, who I believe lived in regional New South Wales, saw hoverboards, thought, these things are awesome. I'd like to get one for myself, right? She jumps online, she does her research, and she discovers that at the time, no one was selling them. Right? So she could not get a hold of one here in Australia. She could have got one from overseas, got it shipped internationally, but generally postage and handling, that gets kind of pricey. So she didn't want to have to do that. But she had no other option. She could not find anyone in Australia selling them. And at that stage, she went, actually, well, if this is something that people want, what if I was the person to sell it to them? So she earns a bunch of money with a bunch of other small business opportunities, things like mowing lawns, washing cars. She earns a bunch of money, she takes it, she buys her first shipment. I believe she probably picked up, I think it was anywhere from 6 to 10 in the first shipment, and she starts selling them through social media before ultimately moving to her own website. And in her prime, I've read that apparently she was making about $3,000 a day selling these to people, right? Well, that is definitely not all profit, right? Definitely there was probably website fees and replenishing of stock, but that's a massive number to be making, especially for someone who at the time, I'm pretty sure was only 12 or 15. Like, she was incredibly young and having a lot of success. Just because she saw an opportunity, she took it. Now, this takes us to the last step, being to start small. So when I talk about starting small, I'm talking about making sure that when we have an idea, we don't go into it too heavily without kind of seeing if not only it's going to be successful, but if it interests us. Because you may start an idea and then after doing it for a little bit, just go, I just don't enjoy it. I'm not interested in it. It's not for me. So I don't want you to ultimately feel like you have to move past, you have to give it up, you have to move on past it, especially if you've put a lot of money into it, right? So let's start as little as we possibly can. Now, from here, I'm going to share with you some actually large companies who had this exact same approach, right? In fact, the first example, in a house very similar to this one of the largest tech companies in the world found its origins. Does anybody have an idea as to what company that might be?
Apple.
You are 100% correct. It was Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in a garage who together built the first ever computer made by the company before ultimately forming the company itself. Again, making heaps of money doing so. Another good example. This small, unassuming office space here, very similar to a website which again found its origins and then had massive success in the future. Any ideas what I'm talking about?
Amazon.
Not Amazon, no.
Google.
No.
eBay.
No, these are amazing suggestions, but not the ones I'm looking for.
YouTube.
This is in fact the birthplace of... Now here's the thing. This particular company definitely did have quite a bit of interest built in it very early on, right? Now, the problem that they had was that they were only a really small team at first. I think it was about 3 people at the time. And ultimately, there was some interest in purchasing them. Now, for the most part, they fended it off until ultimately Google came knocking. Now, being super fancy dressed, I'm sure they knocked on the door and said, hey, we're going to buy YouTube. And at that point, they were like, no, look, we kind of want to keep it to ourselves. And they were like, shh, we'll give you $1.65 billion for it. At that point, they were like, it's all yours, have fun, right? At that point, YouTube was purchased and became a part of the Google suite, which of course is now where it lives, right? So by following the steps, I think we're really set onto the right path to have successful ideas. And what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to tell you a story, and listening to the story, I want you to have a think about the 3 steps and ultimately try to identify and answer each of these steps while I'm telling you this story. So drawing from the story itself, what are the answers to these questions? You see, I've got a friend. I'm going to call this friend Stacy. Now, Stacy is a really, really good artist. She has been for years. Whenever I've caught up with her, she's always been doing some incredible artwork, right? Painting especially was her bit of a favorite of hers, but she was really good at it nonetheless. Now, one day I remember I went to visit her and I saw that she was working on something, and I stopped her and I said, you know, you really have a really creative palette, right? Lots of color. And I said, you know, I'd actually really like a design like that just on a t-shirt for me. Do you reckon you could do that? And she said, well, of course I could. So I ended up bringing up just a plain white t-shirt I had from home. I said, here, give this one a decorate, do whatever you kind of feel like, and I'll come and I'll pick it up next time I see you. She finishes it up. I go to pick it up and I'm like, man, this is incredible. This is amazing. And I said to her, have you ever thought about like doing something like this, right? Taking your designs, putting them on something like a t-shirt and seeing if you have success. Now, she told me she had so much fun making this one particular tee that she thought maybe this was something she should try. So she goes out and with $255, she buys a bunch of t-shirts, some paint supplies, general bits and pieces she'd need to get started. She starts painting like a frenzied person, creating all these different designs, colors, all these different shapes, and ultimately putting them all onto these white t-shirts. She initially starts by selling them through social media, right? She thinks that's the best place to get it off the ground, so using her friends and kind of trying to get her grounds by marketing as best as she can, she ends up getting quite popular enough that she really decides to push it further, right? Ultimately moving to her own website where they continue to sell like crazy, right? She set up market stalls to sell them and ultimately got so big that her t-shirts were being worn all around the world. So Stacey's doing pretty good. It's a good friend to have. So that was the story there. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. I want you to talk to the person next to you, people around you. And again, go through those steps. What did she know? What was the opportunity? And how much did she start? How did she start small? 1 minute. Have this conversation. Off you go.
Now Google's going to buy the t-shirt company and
Just do a rainbow.
Yeah, it's very good.
Go. You got the steps. Yes, steps. Feeling good? Feeling good?
The spell of success.
Alrighty, so let us bring it back together again, please. So again, if we're drawing from this story, we need to go through the steps. We need to find how she charted a course from just being an artist and doing what she loved and how she took it into a massive business where she was making a heap of money. So we're going through the steps. Do what you know. What did she know? What was she good at? What was her skill? In the back, yes.
Art.
Absolutely. And what was your name again? Casey. 100%. Painting, art, that was 100% her skill. It was something she did regularly and it was something she really felt passionate about. Great. So we move to the second step, the opportunity. What was her opportunity? Any ideas? Yes, sir.
Troy, the approach to the t-shirt.
Absolutely. So you could say that I was the big opportunity. I was the thing that pushed her there. Any other suggestions as to what the opportunity could have been?
Clothes designer.
Absolutely. So seeing the opportunity for clothing and the market that was. Your name again, sorry? Tuana? Absolutely. Perfect. All right. And then, of course, the last step. How much did she start with? How did she start small?
$255 and bought her supplies and stuff.
Absolutely. All right. So she started with $255 for just the basics she needed to get started. Your name again?
Andrew.
Andrew. Absolutely. You are correct. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to move into another activity because I really want to get you guys in the process of thinking through all these different ideas. I want to kind of get a bit of a brainstorming session in the room. Now, what I've got here is I've got a bunch of laminated cards, which each have scenarios on them that looks pretty similar to the one you're seeing on the screen now. What I'm going to do is, with this particular example, I'm going to read it to you out loud, and then as a group, we're going to kind of try to generate some small business ideas for this person. Once we're kind of feeling confident about doing this, I'm going to give each group a card at random, and I'm going to ask you to generate some ideas for your particular person. Now, once we've generated some ideas, at the end, I'll go to each scenario, and I'll ask you to share some of the ideas that you came up with. Now, coming up with ideas is really important. In fact, if you can come up with the one really good one that you really love, absolutely, please do so. But don't feel restricted. Don't feel like there's that one right answer that I'm waiting for to go, yep, that's the one I wanted you to say. Be creative. Go as crazy as you like. In this exact scenario, right, Sunny lives in surrounded by nature. She often goes bushwalking and likes gardening in her free time. She also likes chess. Don't be afraid to say, okay, maybe she does tree yoga, right? Maybe she dresses as a tree and then scares people and posts it to social media. I don't know. That could be a business. I'm not here to say that that was the right or the wrong answer. I just want to help you generate some ideas. So as I said, as a practice, let's do this one. 30 seconds. Talk to the person next to you, people around you. What does she know? What's her opportunity? How does she start small? Come up with some business ideas. Off you go.
Now it's an attraction point. Every Saturday she holds a chess Every Saturday she holds a chess competition. And then every 10 minutes, that's the chess cup that they want. It's all chess themed. Yeah, like at night. It's just And then she has 3 things in the vision board. The bushwalking. It's chest piece preparation. Chest, giant chest piece. Irish.
Alrighty, so we'll bring it back together again, please. Now, just in those moments of me kind of having a wander and having a listen, I heard some already very exciting ideas, right? Like I said, don't feel restricted. We don't need to stick with the first idea that we get, but we should just come up with heaps of ideas. And then if you do find one that you're like, I love this, maybe try to build it out with those steps. Kind of go, okay, what is the opportunity I'm trying to meet? How would I start small? But like I said, I'm going to get this to do this with all of you right now. I'll give these a really, really quick shuffle. I'll shuffle them around. And I'm going to go to each group and I'm going to ask you to pick one. So, table 1, please select a card. The scientific way of doing it. I love it. Thank you. Okay, second table, please select a card. That was a good choice. I would have picked that one too. Okay, third table, please select a card. Oof. Okay. All right. Fourth table. Please select a card. You sure? Really? That one? Okay. I know. I believe you. All right. And then final table. This is yours. Thank you. So, like I said, one sec before you start. Did you start yet? Good. I get jealous when I'm not the center of attention. But what I'll get you to do once more, make sure you go through the steps. Make sure you generate some really, really cool ideas. And like I said, if you find that one that you're really, really happy with, just try to build on a little bit more. Because when we're finished, I'll give you about 3 minutes or so to do this. I really want each group to share with me one really cool idea they came up with, right? And like I said, don't be afraid to pick the craziest one, but definitely try to explain to me how you got to follow those steps and how this person would make this business work. Is that clear with everyone? We all happy with that? Is there any questions on this? No, I could see you're just raring to go. So, 3 minutes. Make this happen. Let's come up with some businesses.
So then, no, she can be a tour guide, but then she can do the online blog for like a site. But she's a tour guide. And then under the tour guide, she can have like the subs, like to sell yourself. Yeah, professional. And then maybe she links herself. She would open her own shop. I mean, really getting an idea. And then she went and does a competition. You're a genius. There's a lot of stuff. What do you got? Just spit out like 4 ideas.
Amazing. Quantity.
Don't worry about quality.
No, I want quantity. That's what I want. Hey, all right. Yeah.
And then she can do the tour guide.
Very clever. I like that. Ladies,
Tour guide slash food blogger.
My name, make the magic happen.
No, just tour guide.
Let your blood go, alright? Alright, you're about halfway, about a minute and a half remaining.
Crystal walking. Crystal eating walk. Eden walk. Sounds like a fancy. Eden. The Eden's walk. Crystals.
Yeah, busking.
We did it. Takeaway tour.
Alrighty, so let us bring it back together again, please. Now, again, Just getting to talk to all of you, I can hear there is already some amazing ideas coming out. Like I said, we're going to go through each scenario, and I'm going to ask the group with that scenario to just share with me what they came up with. It's just kind of a really good idea they discovered. Don't worry too much if you didn't get the chance to build the greatest idea known to man. That's okay. It's just about the process of going through and generating some cool ideas. So we'll go to scenario 1. Who had scenario 1? Oh, it was up the back. All right, excellent. So help Sophia. What'd you come up with? Any amazing ideas for her?
Because she likes making art and design and has a keen interest in personalized gifts, we were thinking she could start a business in making the stuff she likes. So making personal gifts for people.
Absolutely. So you've identified the fact that making art and design and gifts and products being her skill and what she's good at, being able to design gifts and products for people, that is a great suggestion. Absolutely. Thank you. So again, we're supportive. We're very supportive. Thank you. Thank you. So scenario 2, who was helping Frederico out? All right. So in the center, please, what'd you come up with?
So because he likes tinkering with bikes, we were thinking maybe he makes customized motorbikes for people and then he teaches them how to ride them.
That's awesome. Excellent. And again, really focusing on the fact that he has a like and he has a skill and putting that to an opportune use. Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. Alrighty, so to the next one. We're talking about Yuki. Who was helping out Yuki? Scenario 3. Okay, excellent. So
Yuki likes talking and she loves to play the saxophone. So we thought she'd be very social and start busking in the streets.
absolutely.
When she got big, she could play at festivals and markets until she could eventually hold her own.
Absolutely. Amazing. So yeah, we could look at things like busking. We can look at things like finding other opportunities to present because she loves to play the saxophone. And ultimately, I think that's a great direction that she can take. For sure. Thank you very much. Thank you. I do this a lot. I'm surprised this is the first time, to be honest with you. So the next one, we're talking about Timana. Who helped out Timana? Up the front. So what was the idea? Any thoughts for him?
So Tamana really likes to like movies.
Yeah, he does like movies.
And he also good with organizing events.
Absolutely.
So we're thinking about making his house a movie theater.
Oh, of course.
So every Friday movie night.
For sure.
And advertising on people like that.
Yeah, so obviously finding the opportunity to have people come and potentially watch movies or do other kinds of events. I think that's a great one. Thank you very much. Thank you. Which, of course, takes us... Oh, I accidentally went back one. So that takes us now to Crystal. So we had Crystal, I believe, was up the front here. So what are we doing?
We say it together. Okay. So since Crystal's good at all these things,
Yes.
like going around the city,
She is.
bilingual.
She's bilingual, absolutely.
We thought she could create her own business called Takeaway Tour.
Takeaway tour.
Crystal's Takeaway
Crystal's
Tour.
takeaway tour.
So she takes them to food spots, and like the hidden food spots, they get food, and then she can take them on a tour around the city.
Amazing.
And she can be a tour guide for international students and people.
Great.
And then as a side job, she's a food blogger.
Yeah.
But she knows all the hidden spots.
She does, absolutely. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, I love from just such a small amount of time and with some amazing scenarios in front, you came up with some really awesome business ideas, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the things that we know we can do and we're trying to take them and be successful with them. Now, you've helped out my friends in the scenarios, but now I want you to be ready to help one another. We're going to finish this workshop off with running through these steps, but I want you guys to do it with each other. Now, we're going to go through each of the steps individually, and I'm going to give you an idea on how I want you to progress. Now, I'm going to start with this first one, do what you know, or what do you know? What I want you to do is, again, talking to the person next to you, people around you. Again, feel free to do this in your table groups because that's who you were working with just before. What I want you to do for me is I want you to interview one another and find the 3 things that you are really, really good at. The 3 skills that you're like, I have this skill, and I reckon if it came down to it, I could use that skill to make money. Now, this conversation goes one of 2 ways. Some people are like, I've got to go now. And other people are like, just 3. So I want you to make sure it's 3. I believe you could all absolutely have 3 amazing skills. I want you to try and come up with what those are. Okay? 1 minute. What are your 3 skills? Off you go. Have a chat. 3 skills.
I'm into cars. So I guess I can help people decide what cars they like. Teach them how
You got 3.
So I can be mechanical.
You got 3. Alrighty, so let's bring it back together again, please. So you've had a think. You've got some skills in mind. You're like, I know what I do good. Excellent. Now we take it to the next step. We identify the opportunity. All right? So what I want you to do is, out of the 3 that you gave me, or as many as you were able to come up with, because I know that can be a hard question. Some people are like, I don't know what I'm good at. But I want you to take one of them, whether it's the one that you are the best at or the one that you feel the most confident with, and I want you to have a think about what you could do with that skill in the world. How could you take that skill and apply it in some way that would make you into a business and could make you a little bit of money? All right? So you have another minute. How do you use that skill? How do you make money with it? Make a business for me. Off you go. What's the opportunity? Can you? Good job. That was there.
That's the only limit is your imagination. Let your wallet.
And
I'll pay to comment on my videos. I'll go to a concert. I'll be the one like.
look, it's not wrong if it works. Alrighty, and we'll bring it back together again, please. Amazing. Great. You see, we're following the steps, and already I'm hearing some awesome stuff. But from there, we go to the last step, to start small. Now, this one here, I'm going to give you 30 seconds for it, because this one's going to be a nice, simple question. Again, with the person next to you, people around you, taking one of those ideas that you came up with. I want you to tell me the smallest number you would need to make that happen right here today. If you were to be given that small number, you could take this business idea and you could make it happen right here, right now, today. 30 seconds. What do you need? Start small.
Yeah, so I think it's not different. YouTube doesn't test me.
Alrighty, so we'll bring it back. Now, hands up if you said, Troy, I'd do it for free. I don't need anything. 0.
I'd do it for free.
Hands up, you're like, I need less than $1. Less than $1 to make it work. Hands up, you're like, probably less than $10 and I could make it happen. Hands up, you're like, less than $100 and I can make the magic happen. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. How's like less than $1,000 and I can make this happen for sure. Nice and proud. Hands up, nice and high. Thank you. Hands up, you're like, I'm going to need about $1 million, Troy. That's how much I need. Give me them 6 zeros. Great. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait a little bit. I'm not there yet. But again, it's good to see that you've thought this through, because I just want you to realize that this is absolutely obtainable. And I know that sometimes we talk about it like it's something that people think is maybe not so much for them, or something that they feel like, maybe I don't know how to do it. I think just from these conversations alone, you've shown me you absolutely have the skills. And if you follow those steps and you do the things you know, you find that opportunity and you start small, I think the sky is the limit. But we're going to run you through again. Let's quickly talk back. Let's make sure this is going to stick through. So remind me, what were my 3 steps in that process? When I'm going to make myself a small business, what are my 3 steps? Do what you know.
Identify your opportunity.
Identify your opportunity. And then finally, start small. Great. Amazing. All right. Do what you know, identify your opportunity, and then start small. Again, the questions are simple. They're designed to be simple. That's how we're going to best execute them. And then from there, take your cool ideas, make them happen. That's what I really want to see. So this is all the time we are going to have together here today. I'm going to pass you back to your teacher for the remainder of the lesson, but I will say thank you very much for having me, and have a wonderful day as well. They are all yours.